I listened to a press conference in the wake of yet another attack on a police officer. I was furious, and one of these men has me fuming. Within hours of the shooting of Philadelphia police officer Jesse Hartnett, who was sitting alone in his police cruiser, Mayor Kenny of Philadelphia makes one of the most astounding, asinine statements that I've heard since the last time I listened to a White House press conference. Take a listen.
In no way, shape, or form does anyone in this room believe that Islam or the teaching of Islam has anything to do with what you've seen on that screen. That is abhorrent. It's terrible, and it does not represent the religion in any way, shape, or form or any of its teachings.
What? A hero sitting by himself, guarding the community in the city of brotherly love, almost assassinated by this man. And you bring your nonsense, apologetic, politically incorrect baloney to a law enforcement press conference? Hey, Mayor Kenny, in case you forgot, Philadelphia is the place where the Declaration of Independence was signed and the Constitution was written. Its location is the symbol of freedom where Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell sit. Last I checked, the First Amendment reigns supreme. Who are you to tell me what the shooter's motivations are when your own police department has a video confession of the shooter himself admitting what his motivations are?
We had the suspect upstairs, the homicide unit, talk to him. Right away, he didn't have anything to say, but then he stated that he pledges his allegiance to Islamic State. He follows Allah, and that is the reason he was called upon to do this.
How dare you take the sympathy away from the victim, Officer Hartnett, and the men and women in blue under siege every day in this country by the haters, and turn it into sympathy and understanding for a different group? I don't need you to tell me or lecture me what I should be thinking because you want to suck up to the commander-in-chief. So how about you drop your liberal ideological nonsense and stop apologizing and start focusing on the threats to kill those in your department? And I don't know if you need to see an eye doctor, but the man is wearing Muslim garb. He has sworn allegiance to ISIS. He told the cops he did it for Allah and ISIS. His own mother says he's a devout Muslim. Are you stupid? And you're not alone in your stupidity. On December 17th, 70 Democrats in the House of Representatives introduced House Resolution 569. A resolution condemning violence, bigotry, and hateful rhetoric toward Muslims in the United States. Those congressmen and women resolved to express their condolences for the victims of anti-Muslim hate crimes. No mention of Christians and Jews. 2 weeks after the Islamic State-inspired massacre of Americans in San Bernardino, California. And add to that, Attorney General Loretta Lynch, within days of that massacre, expressing her greatest fear is anti-Muslim rhetoric that might lead to violence. All of this, folks, is a direct violation of the First Amendment right to free speech. Yes, offensive speech is protected. And need I remind anyone that the First Amendment reads, Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of a religion or abridging freedom of speech. These folks don't seem to understand that they are violating our free speech rights under the First Amendment. Offensive speech is protected, and Congress is forbidden from promoting one religion over another. Now, I have feared for some time that Sharia law is already here. This resolution is an affront to the freedom of religion by prioritizing one over others. By the way, this resolution and the names of those who sponsored it are on my Facebook page. So, Mr. Mayor, stop mouthing off when you don't know the facts because you're pandering either to the White House and the political class that is taking us down this road. Why don't you start by offering your sympathies to Officer Hartnett, his family, and the families of those Americans killed in California? President for 6 years. And after this week's prayer breakfast, it all came together. It finally made sense to me. Barack Obama is comfortable with extremism. He's okay with it. He's nonplussed. It's part of what happens. It explains why he goes golfing within minutes of announcing the beheading of an American. It explains why he didn't join 40 world leaders in France to denounce Islamic terrorism. It explains why he doesn't attend certain funerals, why he does nothing about the wholesale slaughter of Christians in the Middle East, or the raping, beheading, crucifying, and burying alive of children there. Why he doesn't get excited about people who cross his red lines. And it explains why he so easily pivots to healthcare after announcing the burning alive of a coalition pilot. But back to the prayer breakfast. Take a look at this.
And lest we get on our high horse and think this is unique to some other place, remember that during the Crusades and the Inquisition, people committed terrible deeds in the name of Christ. So this is not unique to one group or one religion. There is a tendency in us, a sinful tendency that can pervert and distort our faith.
You know, the president's comments didn't make sense to a lot of people, including Joe Scarborough.
You almost have to ask the question, where did he go to church? Where would he get such ideas from?
You know, Joe, I'm so glad you asked that question. It took me back to this man whose church the president attended.
No, 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 not God bless America, God damn America, that's in the Bible for killing innocent people.
Of course, that's the famous Reverend Jeremiah Wright, in whose pew the president sat for 2 decades. And what was that other thing? Get off our high horse? Are Americans on a high horse because we condemn the jihad of Islamic terrorists? Are you saying it's our turn? That we have it coming? Or that by pointing out centuries-old wrongdoing, you excuse the slaughter of innocents today? Mr. President, what's most interesting is that with the Crusaders, you so easily identify them as Christians. Why is it so hard for you to identify today's jihadi terrorists as Muslim? Throw a rock at Christians? No problem. But never speak of Islamic terrorists. Mr. President, aside from the obvious that was then and this is now, the Quran is interpreted by some as demanding jihad, the taxing or killing of non-believers, and a worldwide caliphate. And surprise, today's terrorists are beheading, imposing that same jizya tax, and in their march to create an even bigger Islamic State. Stop apologizing and stop pussyfooting around with this language dance. We get it. Not all Muslims are terrorists. It was Egypt, a country of 90% Muslim, that rose up against the jihadists who were also Muslim. Consider this. The first World Trade Center attack in 1993 by Muslims. The USS Cole bombers were Muslim. The Fort Hood shooter was Muslim. The shoe bomber was Muslim. The underwear bomber was Muslim. The Boston bombers were Muslim. The September 11th hijackers were Muslim. Mr. President, please identify what other violence is being committed against Americans in the name of any other religion. Or is it just coincidence? You know, you identify terrible deeds in the name of Christ. Why not identify terrible deeds in the name of Muhammad, the prophet of Islam? Calling Fort Hood workplace violence is a joke. People can't believe that that's how you categorize it. But then again, your administration erases words out of reports identifying terrorists as Islamic. Stop defending Islam. Start protecting Americans. Stop saying what Islam doesn't stand for and start saying what you as our president intend to do about this. Recent polls suggest that the overwhelming majority of Americans think it's at least somewhat likely Islamic terrorists will launch an attack on U.S. soil soon. But I believe you are so comfortable with extremism that you've lost an understanding of the danger to Americans. You boast a security policy of strategic patience. What are you waiting for? While you wait, they keep winning and Iran gets closer to nuclear enrichment. All the while you open our borders, reduce our military, and criticize Americans and America at the UN and in Cairo. If nothing more, you're consistent. Extremism is just a part of life. But the danger, your nonchalant attitude puts our entire nation in jeopardy. Just this week, your FBI director said that there were open cases looking into individuals who may be connected to ISIS in virtually every state but Alaska. In any given situation in history, people look to a leader when they are concerned. Your actions, your statements, your personal behavior suggest that none of this is a big deal. Even ISIS sees that Americans seem desensitized to beheadings. And so they move to the almost unimaginable, burning someone alive. Mr. President, Americans are angry and frightened. The impact on us is enormous. For many, the fear is overwhelming. I hate to think that the only solution that we have is to look forward to a real leader in 2016. And God, I hope it won't be too late. And that's my open. Tell me what you think on my Facebook page or Twitter at Judge Jeanine, #JusticeOpen. The outrage, though, continues over the comments President Obama made at that national prayer breakfast this week. Our commander-in-chief's ISIS Christian comparison drawing anger from religious leaders across the country. One of those leaders joins me now. He is the pastor John Hagee, the founder of the Cornerstone Church and the author of 38 books, his latest, 4 Blood Moons, on the New York Times bestseller list for 22 weeks. Good evening, Pastor. Your reaction to this week's prayer breakfast.
Judge, it's a pleasure to be with you. My reaction to the president's remarks are very direct and simple. One, everything that he said about the Crusades and the Spanish Inquisition are true. The Crusades happened in the 1200s and they were called the Dark Ages. There were 7 Crusades in which the Crusaders marched from Europe into Jerusalem to kill the Jewish people. They put the sword at the throats of the Jewish people with a message of convert or die. The Spanish Inquisition was equally a story of horror. In the book, The Anguish of the Jews, Father Flannery describes how that thousands of Jews, at the direction of the inquisitors, were burned at the stake. Others were put on the torture rack. These were people that were eventually kicked out of Spain by King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella. So yes, horrible things have been done beneath the sign of the cross, and in this case, uniquely to the Jewish people. But why did the President of the United States take such pleasure in presenting such horrible facts of the past in the present? It's like comparing a fresh apple with a 1,000-year-old orange. America does not need a history teacher to tell us about ancient history. We need a commander-in-chief who is willing to declare that Islam, radical Islam, has as its intention to take down the free world.
Pastor,
that ISIS is evil.
Why do you think that our commander-in-chief is reluctant to identify just what you said?
I think he's reluctant to identify because he has announced that ISIS is dead. They're the junior varsity. They're not the Lakers. He has belittled them. He has repeatedly said the problem is over, when in fact the problem is becoming more exaggerated and more detrimental to the free world by the day. we have the king of Jordan coming to America asking for help. Why can't we have an FDR moment? The Lend-Lease program of FDR with Europe was giving them ships and planes and bombs and guns. Why can't we give bombs and guns and fuel to Jordan and let them fight ISIS? Why not arm the Kurds? The Kurds are pro-American.
Yep.
They want to fight. They are good fighters. Why not arm them directly instead of indirectly through Baghdad? If we would put those two together with just a little American help, ISIS would be on the run. But right now, we live in a world where America is a mockery. Our foreign policy is a disaster. Our friends don't trust us, and our enemies don't fear us.
Pastor, quickly, how does Israel, our ally in the Middle East, survive when our president continues to negotiate with Iran over nuclear enrichment?
The way that Israel survives is the way they always have. In the final analysis, they know they have to depend on themselves, because when push comes to shove, the nations of the world have never come to their aid. But I can say that Israel is fully prepared to defend themselves. When they say never again, they mean never again. They are not going to go like sheep to a slaughter a second time. They are going to defend themselves with an IDF that's fully trained, fully equipped, and they are ready to go.
All right. Pastor John Hagee, thanks so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. And of course, the debate continues over America's strategy against ISIS, with the administration saying they're doing what needs to be done, and their detractors saying we're losing the war. Take a listen.
Nobody's letting off the gas. We're going to continue to put pressure on ISIL, regardless of these barbaric acts. What these acts do, however, I mean, they bring into stark relief just how despicable these people are.
I hope this heinous crime finally leads us to put in place what thus far has been lacking, a comprehensive strategy to achieve the president's stated goal to degrade and destroy ISIL. Let there be no doubt, we still do not have a viable strategy to counter ISIL, and if you're not winning in war, you are losing.
All right, and with me now is military strategist and Fox News contributor Colonel David Hunt. Good evening, Colonel.
Hi.
Look, we started airstrikes in September. All right, they're winning and we're losing. What does it take for America to win this war?
We've got to unite the American people behind whatever we're trying to do. We haven't done that yet. There's no feeling in this country that we're actually at war. It's not in the press, not talking about it much. We're going to have to lead. We don't have any of that right now. We've got disparate countries, not very little on the ground. We've got only a couple of countries helping us in the air.
I'm going to interrupt you.
Sure.
They've got 40,000. Jordan alone has 88,000. We've got the Kurds. We've got the Iraqi military. We've got, albeit 3,000 Americans on the ground. There's all kinds of support. UAE back in today. Why is this so hard?
The armies you're talking about are not very good. Without our help, without us on the ground, without us doing logistics and intelligence and command and control, it can't be done.
All right, so you're saying that we don't have the will. Is that what you're saying?
Clearly we don't have the will, because this will take probably 10 to 20,000 American soldiers back in order to do this, and massive airstrikes. So the point I'm making is we have to lead, because the countries you're talking about have got large armies like Jordan, but they're not capable. They can't do any of this without our help.
All right, I want you to look at a map because apparently ISIS isn't fighting a conventional war of what's called a war of position. And what we have here are these concentric circles. Why don't you explain to us what this is, what's going on over there?
Yeah, this is a Sunni-led, these are very smart and deadly generals that are leading this. The dark one in the middle is the centerpiece of their conduct. That's where their capital and where Mosul is. That's how they're controlling it. The second circle is where they're launching attacks from. And the third, they've stationed units for control. They own as much territory as there is in Jordan with that 40,000.
All right, so you're saying that this is the center,
yep.
Raqqa and Mosul, right. And this, Tikrit and Ramadi Fallujah is where they're doing some of their...
They're stationing their units there and running assaults from it.
Okay, and...